Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to another Battle Report recap. This evening we have Jordan Reid playing Grymkin versus Pat Badminton playing Trollbloods. So it ended up being Old Witch 3 versus Madrak1. Guys, if you're enjoying the content that we're creating, please go ahead and hit like on that video, subscribe to the channel for future content. You can also follow me on Facebook by searching for DeathClock Dave, and we all actively watch the comments on Facebook and on the YouTube channel if you have any comments about the match. So without further ado, we'll jump in. The guys will talk about their pairing and why they chose what they did, and we'll get into the match. So Jordan, what was your pairing this evening?
I brought Heretic in Dark Menagerie and Old Witch in Bump in the Night.
All right, and Pat, what did you? What was your pairing?
My pairing was Borka 2 in Power of Dunia and Madrak1 in Band of Heroes.
Jordan, why did you pick Old Witch 3?
I picked Old Witch just because in case he dropped Borka, I wanted to have an answer to the stealth feed. I thought a lot of dudes in the way would be a bit of a way to slow a lot of beasts down, and also I felt into Madrak, if you drop Madrak, I have a lot of infantry clearing tools, which will show. So.
All right, and Pat, why did you pick Madrak?
Well, I felt with it being Grymkin, and I don't know a lot about them, but I know they're great for recursion mechanics. So Band of Heroes seemed like the best bet since it gives all my models, my warrior models, the ability to remove from play, and because I didn't want to build Borka before the game.
All right, fair enough. So we were playing Scenario 5, which is Outlast. Pat won the role, I believe, and chose to go second for, he preferred the terrain on that side, or you didn't want that. We had a corrosion bath in the terrain, which is bad times.
Which Old Witch sat in the entire game.
Yeah, she was having a nice. She needed it to be degreased.
Yeah,
so it was degreased.
I don't know which grease too though.
Yeah.
So Scenario 5, Outlast. We've got 2 circular zones which can be controlled by Warcaster Warlock units, which we had many of on the table, and 2 flags, which are Warcaster Warlock solos. So over the guys here, and we can see as Jordan starts his deployment, we can see the terrain on the board. So at the top, in the middle of the zone, we have a house. To the right of that, we have a forest. Below that, we have a mega forest in the middle, or sorry, we have a hill to the right of the house. In the middle, we have a mega forest. To the right of that, we can see that acid bath, which Pat didn't like for some reason. Down below that, we have rubble. To the left of that, we have another forest, and then above and to the left, we have another hill, and then just above that, we have a pool of water. So, Jordan, tell us about your deployment here.
This is my pretty standard deployment with Old Witch, which is I put my Dreadrots in the middle, kind of just clog up and go between the gaps, kill whatever can kill, and then usually the Holloman go on the on the flanks, and usually you go around and shoot stuff and then kind of collapse into the middle. My beasts are usually spread out depending on where things are at, and my solos are kind of spread out according to terrain. So I had Longfellow and most of my solos on the top above Old Witch, and my Frightmare in between the 2 units at the bottom, and the Cage Rager in my army was right next to Old Witch herself. It was just going to go where it needed to, and I wanted the ability to spread Wraithbane as much as possible. So,
all right, and Pat, how are you deploying?
Triangle.
It's a triangle.
You'll see that once he's done.
This is a new list for me. This is actually Chris Dancock's Madrak1 list. So this is my first time trying it out.
I hear he's pretty good. So.
Yeah, I hear he's when it comes to trolls, he rocks. And so I decided to deploy the Krells throughout the front line so that they could act as a screen to absorb his initial attacks with his cast imps. And behind them, I put 1 unit of champions on each side, with Madrak and his Runebearer in the middle, when I had the stone behind them to kind of cast as big of an aura as it could and get as many guys. I ended up putting my beasts at the two corners to kind of help put equal threat on the zones, as well as the fact that it would keep them from getting bogged down in that big forest in the middle. So I did that, and I did the same with my solos. I kept them sort of spread out on the flanks so that they could go where they're needed, and not be as hassled by that forest in the middle.
Giant forest in the middle is good times. Jordan, you got your advanced deploy?
Yep, I put my 2 Trapperkins right up the middle, and the plan was just to run right up behind that forest first thing, just so nothing could really get to them. And then they were going to walk up and trapdoor, because they're the new best burrow mechanic in the game. And then just my madcaps are just spread out. They were just going to try and... there's 2 kind of clogged lanes there, and the plan was to just keep, as long as possible, keep making cast imps and just keep on throwing them into those alleyways, blowing up as many things as possible. So I think we're just going to my first turn, and it's pretty simple. Everything just kind of runs. I put Windstorm out just to protect what I can, but yeah, it's going into this match. I was going to rely heavily on the cast imps, just because even though his dudes are very high defense, thanks to Surefoot, turns out when you just hit even ground, turns out auto hitting POW 14s are pretty strong.
Pretty effective when you don't actually have to hit.
No, not at all. So you just keep on running them in, try and light. Pat was very good at keeping up his Krillstone aura so things couldn't be lit on fire, but I still blew up lots and lots of things.
They can get work done if you let them get to
they're funny little spots. They're funny little things. They make liquor and blow up there.
Well, to be fair, you had one Krill where you're on fire the whole game, which we'll see later.
It's true. He just was burning, and then I don't think he ever actually died. He just kept going. So anyways, here my madcaps are walking up, just making as many dudes. I try and spread out as much as possible, just to leave lanes for stuff to get through. Also just to clear up, space for stuff to run up into. I get pretty aggressive on this turn with Old Witch. Not that I'm threatened by anything, but I put Boundless Charge on her and just get her as far up there with Windstorm and an 18-inch control range. Just because if he wants to start throwing AoEs on turn 1, I can make him go wherever I really want to.
The -5 range and that controlling where the AoEs go
is pretty good. So this is where Old Witch begins her acid bath, and she stays there for almost the entire game. I think she took 2 points. She eventually went out. She was done with the bath and scrubbed herself off. But yeah. So coming into this list, I was actually quite surprised Pat picked Madrak, just because Old Witch's gun is such a strong tool, and if you don't think about where it can go, I just thought, especially with the little bit of clogged alleyways between the forest and the building up there, if I can place a really good Crowstorm, it ends up being really bad for Pat. So I went into this being pretty happy about, pretty okay with the matchup actually. So, but as you can see, everything runs. Those Hollowmen are not really visible at the moment, but they're just getting ready to flank. So, but I think that's my first turn, is just getting up. And I feel like I took a little bit too long on this first turn. I think I took 8 minutes, and that's not.
It's a lot of dudes to move.
It's a lot of dudes, but I could have just ran them up faster. To put team deployment, I didn't need to think about as much as I thought about. So, but that's lessons learned. You can cut time off after. But I believe that's my first turn. So,
well, on my first turn, this is only about the second or third time I've ever played Grymkin. And it's the first time I've actually played against cast imps. So we discussed it a little bit before the game, and
I made sure to let Pat know what they did, just so he was aware what they did.
Yeah,
Dane's been blown up by them before, so I tried to brief Pat.
Yeah, so this is where I started measuring things out and started trying to figure out the safest places to run up to. With the cast imps being a random amount of distance that they go, it's a little tricky. So I tried to play it safe and average it out so that you'd have to get at least a 3 to get most of them. Yep. A few of them I was a little off, but I didn't do too. I don't think I did too bad on that.
No, you spaced out. I think you could have gone. You just go. I don't think you go just at 8. The other option you could have done is gone instead of just being at 8. You could have gone just at just like even a couple millimeters over 8, because then I have to roll a 4 even to get there. So
yeah, and as I was moving everyone up, I had my handy blast token available to measure out the distance, because I thought at first that the blast is measured from my guy like it is when you get shot, but Jordan was kind enough to inform me that that's not true. It's actually focused on his model, which is a great thing to know.
Yes.
But I still felt like being spread out is definitely the best thing to do when I've got all these little explosives with legs running at me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's pretty much the main point that I do on my first turn. Is pretty much like Jordan here. Is I run everything up. I take a little bit more time because I want to be cautious, because I'm not as familiar with his army.
Yep.
And it's a little tricky. So, like as you see here, this is where I start moving up my warders to try to get them a little more central. Because I realized after I finished deployment, I got them a little far to the left, because I want them to be guarding Madrak. So, and here I start moving Madrak up and double checking to make sure what can get in the right places for him. Because I want to make sure that even ground covers as many of my guys as I can.
Yep.
Because that spell is so beautiful.
It's the best spell. It's his moneymaker for sure.
Oh, it really is.
So here's a question here. How far is Madrak from, like, the cask imps, for example? Could he have sniped and thrown his...
I think he was within 18 inches of...
Because that could... Oh, right, never mind.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay,
yeah,
that's why I did that.
That was the measuring I did at the very beginning with my tape measure.
Because you got Windstorm up.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it turns out with her Windstorm up, she covers basically the entire board, short of 1 inch of my deployment zone.
Once she balance charges and gets up there.
Of course, I had the advance. I was 2 inches up on my deployment zone as well because of the Band of Heroes bonus, the theme bonus. So it was a case of once I go 1 inch forward, I'm in there. So that took that off the table. Right. It was pretty much let's just run up. I moved up the champions here in case he tried to take some shots at them to give them an added boost because they're pretty good, but. Let's face it, being up on a hill is a lot better than being out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
So here I awaken my stone after putting some fury into it, and make sure they got everybody except there's a Krell warrior and 1 champion at the top, along with my bomber that are outside, and on the bottom we've got my mauler and I believe it was 2 Krell warriors that were outside the aura. So not too bad. And it's over to you, Jordan.
Yep. So this turn, I look and I go, well, you've left yourself in range of a couple of my cask imps, so I'm going to go for as many rolls as I can get. So I measured out there to say what number I need in order to get to the spot I want to get to, where he'll make contact. So I roll it out, I get there, and I believe at this point I blow up on 2 of your Krill stones. And
the Krill warriors.
Krill warriors, yep. This is the first, I'll have you know, this is the first time in a long time I've ever had cask imps actually make it. Most of the time I'm playing against ranged heavy armies and they get shot off the board. But still, putting shots into something that's free is always a good thing.
Free fodder is good.
Free fodder is good. So here are the other cask imps just trying to go for as far as I can get, just seeing if I can get to that mauler. I don't, but its model's in the way. It is. The other one, same thing. Need to roll pretty high. Don't get it, so he's just up next to his buddy, ready to die in the face of a mauler next turn. So, but the rest of this turn is just positioning, shooting a couple Krill warriors, but just mostly positioning, getting things in the way, threatening things. For a counterpunch, he scores first, so I want to put stuff a little bit farther up. Just to be safe. I don't know if I got anything within. I think you may have killed something. I don't know if I put anything within 4 inches of your actual flag this turn. But yeah, I spent so much time on cask imps. Sometimes you just need to not spend so much time on cask imps.
Well, that's okay. The only thing they're really blowing up is my Krells, and they're sort of a target unit anyway.
Yeah, but not having to hit is pretty sweet.
Yeah. It definitely is. I know trolls would like it if we didn't have to hit things, but
it's true. So there we are, just replenishing the cast imps that just went up and died. So
Second verse, same as first. A little bit louder and a whole lot worse.
yeah. So, again, this is just positioning. It's a lot of... After watching this game and after playing it, I'm noticing that I'm taking a bit more time on things that I really didn't need to. Things could have just ran this turn. They didn't need to take as long as they did in the way that they did. But, c'est la vie. You live and you learn. There's a cast imp walking into a wall because he doesn't want to blow up on his buddies, so he just walks into a wall.
Into a house, even.
Into a house, yes. This is me measuring out to see that you have one. What was it? Of your top champions out of the aura, the stone aura. So I have seen that I can get to my Longfellow up there and start taking shots, because actually I had a cast imp blow up on one of your champions, and you spread the damage out amongst all of them, meaning that
they're all damaged.
They're all damaged. So Longfellow gets an extra dice of damage against all of them. So
yeah, I forgot about that. I really hate that Longfellow guy.
You do. You kill him short after, but he got a bunch of work done on him. He almost caused a tough, but sadly, I was hoping it could Swift Hunter away. But what do you do?
You stand perfectly still so I can blow you up.
You did. You did blow me up quite promptly. And then these are the... I think I get a couple shots with my Holoman on that one damaged guy. Yes, they just spread out. Get damage where I can.
With the champs, you just got to soften them up as much as possible.
Yeah, I know he was going to feat. Basically what I was going for with the feat is I knew he was going to feat, and I wanted to give him a target 2 feet without killing too much beforehand. So I just went, you know what, I'll soften up 1 unit of champs. If you want to heal on them, go for it. It's better than getting half a unit of champs, or both units of champs damaged, and
wiping that off the card.
Yes, that'd be sad. That'd be very sad. So I think that's almost me. I've gotten everything up into place. Oh no, this is me debating. I wanted to put Old Witch on the flag just in case.
Oh right, yes.
And I had to cast my own spell on it. This is my sad play of not doing that. That was a misplay on my part.
Because you had a
pumpkin head.
A pumpkin head in the way.
In the way, so I had to use my own spells to do so.
To kill him.
Yes.
And then revive him.
And then move up and then poop him back out.
Yep. So we kill it and we get in the way. We have both of our Trapperkins walk through that forest and go into trapdoors just to be threatening. I don't know if I'll get an opportunity. I was assuming I wouldn't get it next turn because I can't charge if he feats, but I was just leaving them there as little bombs just to be something. And they also can just pop out, kill something, and then contest the flag. So
yeah, well, they're high defense. They can get in the back of things, and it's just they're pain in the butt.
Yeah, so that's over to you, Pat.
Yep, so I've seen that you've moved up pretty aggressively, and honestly, you've still got a few cast imps going around, and I really don't like those guys. But importantly of all, you've got the things that make them still, and I've already had enough of them. So that's my first goal, is I really want to get rid of those guys that are making the cast imps. What are they called?
Madcaps.
The Madcaps, yeah. I want to get rid of those. I want to blow their Madcaps right off.
Yep.
So I'm taking a minute to look here and try to figure out the best way to get to the Madcaps, because honestly, there's a lot of guys here, but on the bright side, with them being such large bases, they can't hide behind the other guys, which is always a good thing. And something that any troll player out there is very aware of is how line of sight works when it comes to medium and small and large bit models.
Yep.
And you've got some pretty decent range presence in this list too.
You have enough to scare things, not a ton, but enough to you can remove key models. Mm-hmm. Hindsight, I probably should have put up Windstorm, but I didn't know if I'd need it or not after this point. But I knew they were eventually going to die, so.
Yeah, that's the deceptive part. I mean, this list is not bad for range. It's got the Bomber, Madrak, and it's got the Fell Caller, which is a spray. So, but that's about it. So, I decided, you know what, I just want to try to get in there. So, I realized my Mauler is probably in the perfect spot, and doing a little check, and sure enough, he left me the perfect place to put him, which I really appreciate. That was very kind of you.
Well, I appreciate you putting him there because I wanted to kill him. So.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It worked, and see, this is the fun of Canadian players. He was kind enough to do something. I was kind enough to do it for him.
Yep.
It was a very pleasant exchange, like true Canadians.
Yep.
So I trampled forward here, running over your 2 cast imps.
They died horrendously.
Oh yeah, they're toe jam. And then I took out your hollow men on either side there.
Those are Grymkin.
Oh,
those are
the pumpkin heads.
Yes, they are. I can't remember the name of them.
I don't feel so bad then. So I took out those 2 guys on either side of him, and realized, it's probably enough fury for him, because let's face it, I want things to happen with my bomber, and because he's got a lot of juicy targets in that top zone.
Dread Rots!
There we go. We got it.
Oh, it just takes one of us.
Brain fart.
Just takes one of us looking it up.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm taking a look at that. I'm taking a look here to see what I can get in to try to deal with that madcap, and it's just I really don't like him.
Yep.
I know that if I don't get rid of him now, it's just going to be an even worse problem later.
Yep. You managed to be just close enough for Eilish Garrity to get in there. So.
Yep. Oh, gotta love that occultist. Got him right in there, and he used the bleed spell to just nicely get your madcap.
Yep.
And even I used his mental force to make sure that I got it, and then because I killed him, I rolled the D3 and actually healed it back. So yay!
And then I actually opted, because I actually rolled very low. I only rolled a 4 on my distance to add to the madcap. I opted to actually send my AOE backwards, just because I didn't. It was close enough that if it started drifting back into my own things, I could kill my own stuff. So I just opted not to do that.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing, because you're pretty tightly packed back there.
Yeah.
And then Eilish ported back in behind the forest after he used his spell.
Yep, I ported back in, and I was actually in just the right range that I ported back and managed to touch the flag. So, yay! Gotta love being able to that Gatewalker ability. That is so much fun. So now I'm moving my bomber up to get line of sight on the other madcap, because we got rid of 1. Let's go for 2, because I hate those guys.
Yep.
So I boosted to make sure that I got the hit. And sure enough, I did. And the way you packed them in there pretty tight, I managed to hit a few of your other Dread Rots as well.
Yep, the big one you got was Lord Longfellow.
Yep, I hit Longfellow and his long bottom.
Did you boost on him?
Yes, you
Yes,
did.
I
Good,
did.
Good.
Because I kind of met him in a Company of Iron game back a while when Company of Iron first came out, and I really don't like that guy.
Oh, yeah.
But lucky enough, actually, after you hit him, he got back for his buddy, and I believe my deviation on this one was I got a Crow Warrior, and I got Eilish Garrity, which...
Yes, that was a good shot. So there you go, folks. Word of advice. If you throw an exploding barrel at a keg that's stored inside of an imp's hat, it turns into a rocket and could blow up your own occultist.
Yes. So we it goes. The wonderful thing about the madcaps is it doesn't have any sort of targeting. It's just a distance.
Yep.
So it goes through forest, it goes through anything basically. So
yes, what joy that was.
Make sure you understand how they work, guys, if you play against them. Very important.
yes, Grymkin has a lot of weird interactions.
They do. So I admit I was a little annoyed at losing Gersh, but he got me the madcap, and I feel that was I realize point-wise it's probably not the best trade, but I think versatility-wise...
You killed Longfellow, and he's six points?
He's free, actually.
Yeah, well, yeah. So
Yeah.
free, but normally 6 points.
Yep.
So this is where I start taking what's left of the Krell warriors, and I move them up into the forest, more to create kind of a wall there. If he tries to come through the forest at me, I want to make sure he's got a little resistance in there.
And get some contesting models up there, too.
Yes, that too, because... This is the point where I realize I want to get on my flag and start scoring, because I'm second player, so at the end of this turn is when we start getting the points, and it's really important to make sure you get that first point. I've found that, and I'm trying to get better at being a scenario player. That's one of my personal weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was really keeping that in mind. So most of the heavy lifting's been done. It's just most of my turn, I think I just spend running and moving things up. This is where I run my champions up to kind of help make that wall. trying to keep you out as much as I can. I make sure to keep them in base to base to get so that they get their defense bonus as well as their lovely no knockdown ability.
Yeah, that's and the bonus from your skull too. That puts them at like 16 or something.
Exactly.
Silly.
So if I'm in melee, I'm at
crazy.
defense 16 in open air, without cover or anything in melee.
Yeah.
Def 14 against
That's
shooting.
dumb.
And I move up my warders here into the forest so they can take any shots from Madrak or anyone coming up behind, but that way they also become a second line if any of his forces try to move through the forest. Because turns out warders are pretty good in combat too.
Yes. You know what they're also good at? Being shield guards if they're placed in proper locations.
Yes, they are.
You left a very juicy amount of models in a very large bundle for Old Witch.
Warders are there to be spread out to cover as many bases as possible because Old Witch has an amazing gun.
I realized I goofed that up, but I moved them up and kept them base to base to give them the +2 armor.
And I don't think that's what I think they're more useful as just being shield guard.
High quality shots.
Yeah.
They don't need to be a You
got lots of other beef on the board.
Yeah, that's something that's going to go into my notes for this one. I like to take notes after all my games.
I think that's a big key with the warders. I think that's
I think you guys are definitely right. I was a little too cautious with the warders is the problem.
So this is us making a measurement to see whether or not you rolled you rolled a 1 on your Krillstone and didn't actually get maxed, and
I was
that
just
Mauler
off.
was just out, which made it even more of a juicy target to kill. So
I'd hoped to get at least 2 onto the stone, but didn't quite get there.
So we've got apparitions happening here. Just that one champ up in the top of the building is long to be killed. So
which incidentally is the champ that survived your combined shooting last time. He ran up and he attacked when your hollow men to get revenge for you. For you chipping his armor.
Yeah, well, he was down to 1 HP, so. So this is Old Witch going. She goes, she feats. I misplay here. I forgot to actually re-add a couple of dudes back to my Dreadrot unit for next time. But I was so excited because he left a wonderful target in the middle of 5 champs and the Mauler to shoot. Yep. So he learned very much what Old Witch's gun does and how terrifying it can be.
Which it really is. This is my first time ever seeing her on the table, and I haven't even watched a game with her yet, to be honest. And my God, her gun
is so good. So that whole juicy clump is now blinded.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, the gun is, if it misses at nothing, but if it hits, the model hit, you center 4-inch AOE that becomes a hazard. All living or undead models under it become blinded. So I just blinded 5 champs and a Mauler. She also, on her turn, cast Curse of Shadows on that Mauler, and the plan is just to start putting shots into it. The leftovers of the Madcap unit start throwing some bombs at it. The Frightmare backs up just to toe the zone and puts a shot also into it. And what else do we have here? Then we start walking the Madcap or the Cask Imps into the Mauler, and turns out PAL 14's on a model that's armor 16.
That's pretty good. Very good way to start the train.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Although I do love how this is. I believe this is where you forgot about your Cask Imp that was hidden in behind my bomber.
Yes, true. You did hide it very well. So you see the Cask Imp go in there, and just the wonderful thing versus the champs is they just do plink damage. They're not going to kill them, but they're going to do plink damage just to soften them up, making Sanguine Bond a little bit harder of a thing to think about. So the one gets in there too, blows up on the Mauler, putting a bit more damage on it. And yeah, my goal was those champs were pretty neutralized for the turn, so my goal was just to try and kill that Mauler.
Yeah. So blind can be shaken, so that's a key target.
And I ended up investing way more than I need to into that. I think I killed it on the first hit when I had
the very first hit.
So I didn't quite need to put as many on there as I did.
Yeah, because you proceeded to roll all your hits first, and then you went to roll your damage, and the first one.
Madrak had feeded, is that right?
Yeah, so I had to walk up. So all they did is they walked up. Mm-hmm. And the wonderful thing about Dreadrots is they RFP when they kill a living model. So I put a giant troll in a bag somehow. Don't know how, but
Something tells me you use lots of butter.
It's a bag of holding.
it's a bag of holding.
Yeah.
It's a dead troll. Just put it in my bag, guys. We got this. There's one guy just trying to get going nowhere with a big old bag behind him. We need more burlap.
I just picture a pair of giant feet sticking out of the bag behind you guys. It's like,
I'm just imagining one guy just like trying to drag a bag, and he's like, "No, go on without me. I got this. It's okay." So this is me making some more attacks up in the top. Just trying to. I'm trying to put Dreadrots in the way. I don't think it's going to be a slogfest in there, so I'm just trying to clear as many things out.
and of course the fact that I feed it on my turn means you can't charge me, so you can't get that extra 3 inches.
Nope. So I just want to walk in there, and now the Holometer is coming in and combining onto that Champs unit just because they're blinded. So let's put some shots into them. And I think I killed a cut. How many did I kill? I think
you killed a
I think
couple of them.
I think I killed 2. So this is just those softening up those units, getting them down, getting them dead. So
yeah, you heard it here, folks. Grymkin likes shooting veterans who are blind.
I mean, they're from hell. What would you expect? They're all twisted. They're all tormented souls who are twisted into the Grymkin Warlock's fashion as punishment, actually. So you heard it here first. We have a little bit of fluff for all you guys.
And here I thought they were just a bunch of gourd guys.
Gourd guys. No. Oh my goodness.
Carrying on.
What was the safe word again? Pudding.
Pudding was the pun safe word during this matchup.
There was many puns. If you go and watch the actual live game, there was more puns than you can shake a stick at.
It was pun apocalypse.
Yep. So, and then it's over to you, Pat, I believe.
Yeah, so losing that Mauler, that was definitely a little bit of a chink in the plan. It was going to be interesting trying to recover from this. Also, too, he's getting pretty up there in the zones, and I'm realizing, I got to be a little more cautious because I just lost a big tool. So, trying to remember what I did here. So I think the big thing I needed to do was I knew I had to keep that bomber safe because with his AoEs, that's one of my best bets to clear out as much of the zones as I can, especially with your guys' low def and armor. Oh yeah, and with all those small bases, I mean they just kept clumping up. So
what's the range on Curse of Shadows?
8 inches.
8 inches. Okay.
Yeah. On my feet turn though, it goes to 13.
Oh, okay. That was feet
that's
turn.
why that's why I could have cast it on him.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Because it was on feet turn I get all of my abilities.
Right.
So I'm asking a few questions here. It turns out you can't actually stand on the trapdoors, so which is a great way to possibly make your opponent forget about them. But but it is nice to know because there's so many things in this game that they block where you can put your models appropriately. So. The fact that you can just put them on a trapdoor makes sense. And I'm trying to figure out here the best ways to try. I actually was contemplating trying to do an assassination attempt on your old witch because you didn't put your wind spell up.
But I put Camped 4, so...
Yeah, once I realized he had Camp 4 and he's armor 19, it's like, yeah, I think this is just not going to happen. So I moved up my Fell Caller up in there to kill some of your Dreadrots. Killed the first one. Unfortunately, I didn't kill the second. I'd hoped to kill him as well to clear out things a little better, but it ended up coming down to the Krell Warriors, at least what's left of them, to get in there and try to kill some things.
Could he have sprayed to try to get some more work done, or was the spray angle not?
The problem is I had to give him the Fell Call for Pathfinder, and because he was just far enough in the forest that I couldn't really see him, so I got there by moving up.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Right.
So I moved up my champions because while they can't move and attack, and they can't charge, there's still a beefy wall of troll flesh. So I figured I'd push into the zone, make him have to work to try to get any further in there. So this is where we start joking about the cast imp down at the bottom, and I think he's actually talking about the one that's been hiding behind my bomber this whole time.
Yeah, I forgot there was a cast imp there. There was a juicy. I could have just blown up on everything back there, but the big old troll blocked the way of.
Yeah, the troll carrying the barrels. I hid another barrel in there, so I moved my Crow Warrior leader and one of the survivors, got them in there so they could do a combined melee to get rid of that cast imp, because that's the last thing I want to happen, is for him to actually blow up
Cast imp
somewhere.
in your back line seems
Yeah,
like
no
good
thank
times.
you. So, we're just waiting for the kid to catch up there. So, took care of that pretty good. And now I'm realizing, okay, I've got my flag. I'm going to I have to make sure I hold it. So, sorry.
Yep. So you clear off you're clearing off
Oh,
my
yeah.
flag, and you're also contesting mine, so I can't score on your turn either. So
Yeah, because, I mean, that's the tricky thing about this scenario, is those flags are so close together.
Yeah.
I mean, that forest definitely made it tricky. But I think without that, it would have been a very different game. So I started moving my warders up to get them in there, because they've got a nice big reach on their weapons, and they're pretty good with them. So they started chopping through your produce section pretty good.
yep.
And they, because of your theme, you're RFPing all of his
Yes, every
moves. They can't be brought
warrior
back, which
model's
is nice.
melee attack removed from play. So that's the whole reason I brought this list into Grymkin, because I've experienced their return shenanigans enough before. It's like, no, thank you, not
Yep.
again.
Yeah. Cool.
So, I believe that's where I pass it over to you, wasn't it? Sorry, I put up even ground on Madrak.
Yep.
Because, let's face it, you do not finish the turn without putting up even ground.
Yeah, because I think you missed the cast imp actually in the forest.
Oh,
there.
yeah, you tried to
used
snipe yourself.
Yeah, Madrak used
Sat to aim.
he used snipe from the bomber, tried to hit the cast imp to get rid of it.
Did you
to
boost
disarm
on
that
that one?
second? I couldn't, because
Oh, okay.
I needed the 3 for that, because
If he
my
would've missed-
my rune bearer, he put guided hand on
Okay.
the
But
warders.
if you did happen to kill him, don't you get to cast a spell?
Yep.
So I guess that was the risk to take, though. Is if
Yeah.
you miss, then you're.
Not to mention there's a ricochet, so if I'd managed
Yeah.
to kill that cast imp, I could have gone after one of the hollow men down
Yeah.
below as well.
Right.
But with that not working, I decided, okay, time to turtle up a bit. So I moved Madrak up to make sure he's got the flag. I brought the stone unit in around him just to make sure that those trapdoor things can't pop up and do something unspeakable to me from a certain angle. So, because honestly, I've never fought those things. I have no idea what they do. So I was
They
playing a
kill
little
you from
safe here.
behind.
Yeah, I'd heard that, and I was trying to make sure I didn't drop the soap anywhere.
Yeah. So this is just me apparitioning up. Thankfully, Pat was nice enough. I forgot to pop. I wanted to pop up one of my Trapperkins, and he was nice enough to let me after I had passed. So thank you, Pat, for that one. I appreciate it. So
We're Canadians. We have to be nice, or we get kicked out in sense of the
it's true.
states.
It's true. This is where I actually make a big mistake, and I forget to keep myself in range to actually. Because I think the first thing I do is I actually activate Old Witch, and I put Rush on the top, on the Cage Raider, because I was going to put him into those warders and try and get him in contesting place.
Boundless charge.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, try and put Boundless Charge on him so he can get up into those warders, contest his flag. And I accidentally leave myself outside of 8 inches of the champions, because the plan was to actually Curse of Shadows them and then walk through them and be able to attack from behind. Because Curse of Shadows allows me not... I can go through your models without taking free strikes, basically. But say la vie, I make mistakes and I try and make the best of what I can. I believe the first thing I do here is I want to lower down that. There's a couple models that if I can kill the Chronicler, that's what his name, the Chronicler? No, what's the attachment for your...
Oh, the Rune Bearer.
The Rune Bearer. If I can kill the Rune Bearer, then there's a couple that are outside of Surefoot, making it much easier to attack and kill them. There you go. That's what I do first. I actually have the popped up Trapperkin charge Scaldy in the back, and I believe he did 16 damage after everything to Scaldy, which then he chose not to spread. So Scaldy went down, and the Trapperkin actually sprinted back to contest the flag.
That's a pretty good trip.
So it turns out Scaldy doesn't like it when you drop the keg in the shower.
No, not at all. So my Hollowmen are going up here. They start putting in some combined shots into your Rune Bearer, and turns out on the first one I roll enough and just pop them. So
Yep, he's gone from shooting down blind veterans to shooting down old man Moses.
Yep. Moses needs to go away. He just had to go away. I couldn't take that. So I started putting in some work into the stone as well to try and lower. This is when I'm getting low on clock, and I actually probably should start be making attacks that I'm making attacks that I don't really need to, and it's not really. There's no real point in doing it. I'm measuring for attacks I don't need to. So I start just putting attacks into the champs, just trying to clear out as many as possible. My goal was to clear that zone and try and score a point, contest his flag. I don't think I could have cleared out all the warders, and it didn't leave me enough time actually to get that there. So we run the Glimmer Imp up to get into range to be seen by those champions, and we start doing some attacks into those champions. I think I kill one with those guys. I can't remember.
Luckily, they were just within even grounds aura.
Yes.
So they had the bonus, and most importantly, though, they didn't get knocked down, which is so much fun.
Yeah,
and
so
this is where that champion goes Super Saiyan and just stops everything that you throw at him.
Yeah, so I start putting a lot of attacks into that, and I end up leaving one champ, which is quite sad because I wanted to be able to score that zone, go to 2-2, but sadly that doesn't allow me. And I end up burning. What did my clock? I think my clock goes down to a minute and a half.
Yeah, you were really. This was up on you a fair amount of time.
This is where I was making way more attacks than I needed to, and I should have just given up on. I was throwing anything I could, AoEs, hoping for a spike damage, and I should have just given up and didn't even worry about it. So
yeah, 'cause I think you're about a minute and a half here, and I still had 8 minutes.
6 minutes is
6
what
minutes, right?
Yeah. So this is, I think, my last activation. Is I have the Cage Rager charge up there, and he's just trying to attack and beat back in order to get into contesting that flag. So I end up
works the first time, but then you kill him. So
yeah. But I end up hitting a warder, and I end up walking into the warder, getting into range, and I kill that warder. And I've killed a couple warders. I'm in the zone, or I'm contesting now. So
so here, now that we've gone over, after all that damage he did and everything, it turns out what finally kills the leader of the champions is corrosion.
Yeah, he melts to death.
Yeah, after all that. So here I'm realizing, okay, I'm just about out of clock. You know, it's getting pretty tight. I gotta keep playing the scenario. So I get looking at that Cage Rager, and he's the only thing really that's close enough to contest that flag.
Other than the one Trapperkin there that's near
which doesn't contest until he pops up. Yeah. So I asked Jordan to see the card, seeing that the thing's got an armor 19. Meanwhile, my bomber only has a PAL strength 15. Even with the stone, it's not going to happen in one round. So I decide to move my Krells out of the way, including the guy who's been on fire this entire game. Which that guy was a champ. That guy was awesome. He should get promoted. So I did that to clear the path, and so that gives me a clear path for my bomber to get over to his Cage Rager and to do a two-handed throw.
Yep.
Now I threw your guy at one of your Dreadrots that's up on the top right side there, because I just wanted to get you as far away as possible. And I did that, but I did that after I activated my stone. Because I tried to use the stone to get rid of that other trapdoor imp who had popped up and killed Scaldy.
He had to go away, and the Cage Rager had to go away in order for you to score.
They both did. So unfortunately, turns out a bunch of stone scribes not always the best in melee. So I took my shot, and I didn't realize this thing had dodge. So as soon as I missed, he went scurrying out of there into the back arcs.
Yep. So it couldn't hit me. So he's staying in there to contest. Just to make your caster have to come up and kill him himself.
Yeah, which I ended up doing. Madrak kills him himself. But the stone popped for strength this time, unlike the rest of the game, which it had been keeping the no continuous effects.
Yep.
So this is where we get my bomber up to do the throw, and I maxed out the dice and just pitched you right out of there.
Yep.
Which you're totally out of there, which gives me a clear flag. And lets me actually able to score on my flag again. So I believe, and then I pass it over to you.
Yeah, and then you make an attack with your caster, and I almost could have gotten out of there, but didn't. You make an attack with caster on the
Trapper, yeah.
and you miss, so I actually was able to dodge. And the next attack, you buy an attack and actually boost.
And hit him.
Yeah, so this is the end of the game.
Because I left myself on 1 second.
Yeah, and I was just going to clear a zone. I just needed to pass back to Pat, and technically I won the game. But I just wanted to play it out to clear the zone. I think we both played a little bit slower, but
yeah, that was pretty close. I mean, at one point Pat was up a fair amount on the clock, so the chat we were all talking about he may have been able to just press forward and kind of
I needed to press forward and just move my troops in quicker.
I think the troll the stone unit should have just ran into the zone and forced me to make attacks to stop it.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was a pretty significant time advantage at one point. But
yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of dudes to move around, and there's a lot of attacks and a lot of finicky stuff with the way the cast imps work and the madcaps and things.
Yep.
So,
yep. It was a great learning experience, and I learned a lot about Grymkin. Thank you very much for that.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, it was a good game to watch, and the chat enjoyed it as well. So thanks, guys, for the game, and thank you guys for watching the Battle Report recap. We will have the matches posted for next week shortly, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, like that video, and subscribe to the channel for future content. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.